Just take a look at your group photographs of class 7 and class 10. You might feel that you and your classmates look quite different in these two pictures. You observed changes in your height and overall physical appearance, right? Humans undergo apparent physical changes between the ages of 10 and 17. These changes enable them to reproduce sexually. These changes include traits that directly or indirectly play a role in reproduction. One of these traits is the onset of the menstrual cycle in human females. Let us begin the journey together and understand the events and hormonal regulations of the menstrual cycle. The menstrual cycle is a peculiar characteristic feature of female primates, and it is also called the uterine cycle. The average duration of the menstrual cycle in human females is about 28 or 29 days. The menstrual cycle includes a series of changes in which the uterine lining that prepare it for the reception of the fertilized egg. The onset of the first menstrual cycle in humans is called menarche. You might ask one question here. What happens during the menstrual cycle, or what are the events that occur during this cycle? Let us discuss. The menstrual cycle includes 4 distinct phases. They are: first is the menstrual phase, second is the proliferative phase or the follicular phase, third is the ovulation, and fourth is the luteal phase or the secretory phase. So let us discuss each of these phases one by one. The menstrual phase is also called menstruation or menses. If the egg is not fertilized, there is a breakdown of the endometrium of the uterus and its blood vessels and the release of the resultant discharge from the vagina. So, what is endometrium? Recall that endometrium is the innermost lining of the uterus. The first day of menstruation marks day 1 of a new cycle, and it lasts for 3 to 5 days. The next is the follicular phase, which lasts from day 6 to 14 in a cycle of 28 days. Here, the development of primary follicle in the ovary into a fully mature Graafian follicle and regeneration of uterine endometrium occurs. The pituitary gland releases a follicle or the cyst-stimulating hormone during this phase. This hormone causes the ovary to create 10 to 20 follicles, each of which contains an immature egg. Now, let us check the hormonal regulation for this phase. The follicular phase is marked by an increased secretion of gonadotropins from the anterior pituitary. Gonadotropins include luteinizing hormone or LH and follicle stimulating hormone or FSH that stimulates the development of follicles and secretion of estrogen from the developing follicles. Estrogen hormone triggers the repair of the endometrium and its proliferation, which gives the phase its name. The next phase is ovulation. The level of LH attains its peak in the middle of the cycle and induces the rupture of the Graafian follicle to release the ovum. This process is called ovulation. It usually occurs on day 14 of a 28 days cycle. Thus, what happens to the ovum that has been released from the mature follicle? Does each ovum get fertilized, resulting in a pregnancy? The answer is no. The further events of a menstrual cycle are determined by the fact that the ovum has been fertilized or not fertilized. Let us discuss the events that occur if fertilization does not occur. After ovulation, the remaining parts of the Graafian follicle become transformed into a corpus luteum. Here, LH gets into action. It facilitates this transformation. It also triggers creamy shaded corpus luteum to secrete hormones which are progesterone and estrogens. It marks the secretory phase or the luteal phase of the menstrual cycle and lasts from day 15 to day 28 of a cycle of a 28 days cycle. In the absence of fertilization, corpus luteum has a lifespan of 2 weeks, after which its secretory activity reduces and it degenerates. The reduced level of progesterone and estrogens facilitate the release of FSH and LH, which in turn trigger the follicular growth and a new menstrual cycle begins. So, what would happen if the ovum released during the ovulation has been fertilized? The corpus luteum persists for longer and continues the secretion of progesterone and estrogens. These hormones, particularly progesterone, promote the growth and thickening of the uterine endometrium. That is the proliferation of uterine endometrium. And the increased levels of progesterone and estrogens also inhibit the release of gonadotropins, and therefore menstruation does not occur during pregnancy. So you can say that absence of menstruation marks the pregnancy. However, lifestyle factors such as stress can also disrupt the menstrual cycle even in the absence of pregnancy. Does this mean that human females can conceive at any age after menarche? Does this menstrual cycle continues from menarche for a long time? You must have heard about some couples of a certain age group having problems in conception. This is because the menstrual cycle does not continue till death. Menopause is the cessation of the menstrual cycle, which usually occurs around the age of 50 in human females. After menopause, human females cannot conceive. Now, get to know about the menstrual cycle that prepares the uterus for pregnancy. Imagine how an ovum released during ovulation comes in contact with sperm and gets fertilized. How does a fertilized egg become attached to the uterine wall to establish the pregnancy? Let's find out in the next video. So, we can summarize what we have learned.
Manorama Horizon. Learning made simple.